Alright, morning guys, down at Hastings on the beach, as you can see probably throughout the window. There's some cool seahorses going on, as such, or whatever you call them, big crashing waves. And going to try it out. I don't know if you can see this, the Rx100 Mark 6. Try a little bit of slow motion. I can't buy any parking, unfortunately, because the machine's not working. I've tried 3 of them, but we're just going to spend 5-10 minutes here, and then we'll go along to pet level and go from there. I just literally drove into the car park, still have my window open because it's actually quite a warm day. It's not too bad, it's just windy, and window's still open. I just got a face full of muddy water, so that was quite funny. Shame these weren't recording at the time, but it was disgusting. So anyway, let's go and take some pictures. So that's the aftermath of hitting a small puddle, and it's very windy. So obviously this thing I would recommend sticking the wrist strap on when you're using it, or they've actually got an adapter that gives you the ability to put a strap on, which is quite good actually. But let's take a few pictures and let's see. So I'm going to leave the EVF down, just snap away. And I'm actually just going to leave it in auto, because it's just easy to do. I just want to see what the quality's like, I think. The light's bright, so, you know, it's going to take some good pictures. Anyway, whatever happens. So guys, I've ditched the audio on the video because it was so windy that basically it was wind noise over my voice. So here we go. Really impressed with the quality of the images the camera is producing, but it's a fabulous camera, and obviously it's got a price to match. So it's not the cheapest out there by far. Probably actually the most expensive compact out there. It hasn't got a super zoom on it. You know, you get a lot of the Panasonics or whatever. They've got 720mm. Back to 24. This is a 24 to 200 millimeter, where the previous version was 24 to 70. The difference with where Sony have gone compared to the other camera companies, they've gone for super high quality lens and medium zoom, allowing obviously much higher quality, slightly faster lenses for lower light and things like that as well. And also the autofocus works ridiculously fast. I think it's actually the fastest camera in the world for autofocus. So, and to be honest, I missed absolutely nothing. Seagulls it locked onto instantly, the surfers and everything you'll see in a minute. But these are just a couple of shots here. I left it in auto, just let it do its own thing. I thought, you know what, it's good light, so it's going to set the ISO lowish anyway, and I'm just going to let it work itself out. I did go to manual a couple of times just to see what it was, but all these photos you're seeing at the moment are straight out of the camera. And it looks pretty good to me. It's sharp, clear. Because it's a 1-inch sensor still, and you've only got 200mm, it's quite difficult to actually separate the background with your subject, unless you're quite close to it. So it's not really designed for wildlife as such, but you know, if it's a large wildlife, you can get some quite good shots, unless you can get close to it. Absolutely fabulous for stuff like this, landscapes, and obviously video. It's got the up to 1000 frames per second slow motion, like the RX10 Mark IV. Here's at 500 frames per second, the waves and everything crashing through, which looks really quite good. You can't record as long as the RX10 Mark IV, but it's still, you know, a good amount of time to actually show what you want to show or capture. So that works quite well. Build quality is very nice. It feels very strong in the hand. It's very dinky compared to what I'm used to, but actually that's what it's for. It's designed to have in your pocket, take it anywhere you want, you know, and that's what it's for. It's, you know, even the RX10 Mark IV is actually quite a large camera, so having this thing, which is smaller than your mobile phone in sort of surface area as such, it's a game changer. Yes, it's more expensive than everything else out there, and you know, you haven't got quite as massive zoom as I said, but the shots I was getting today still works out really well, and you know, really pleased with what it can do. Excuse me. I apologise for the croaky voice. I've got a bit of a sore throat and cold at the moment, so it's a bit annoying, but it just appeared out of nowhere, as they do. And then some more shots. So a couple of these I have edited. This one I haven't. It's just straight out of the camera. Some of the surfing ones I've converted to black and whites and things like that. And I did shoot RAW and JPEG, but actually most of these are just JPEG straight out of the camera, just put straight into the video. So this you can see. This shot here, shot in manual. So basically I up the shutter speeds to, because it's backlit heavily by the sun, so you've got a nice silhouetted surfer there jumping in, which is pretty cool to capture. And I actually got 24 frames a second of him falling in, so I think it was about 35 shots or something of him falling in and actually splashing, like you can see there. That's a splashing shot. But as you can see, we've only got 200mm to play with, but actually you can crop in quite heavily. So in theory you've probably got a 10 megapixel 400mm lens for certain situations, which was absolutely fine. This is the surfer there, obviously crashing out, but the detail, the dynamic range of the shots. I mean, this is heavily backlit by the sun, and the autofocus worked. It didn't matter where I aimed it, near the sun or anything like that. It didn't care. It just literally locked onto anything that was the closest focal point, and it locked onto the surfers. Absolutely no problem at all. And in fact, actually, it was easier to get these shots than it was with the RX10 Mark IV, because you got so much zoom on the RX10. I found myself trying to back out a lot, and obviously it takes a little while to do that, where the zooming in and out on this camera was much faster.
Hey, fell in. How's it say like that? Yeah.
So as you can see here, it's locking onto wildlife, no problem at all. Seagulls flying around all over the place, which was quite cool. God knows how fast they were going, probably 60 miles an hour, something like that. And the camera was absolutely, no trouble at all, focusing on them and just, taking it in its stride, sort of thing. The colours seem to be very nice. They're not too harsh, and it's replicating them very, lifelike, which is really good. This is a shot straight into the sun, reflecting in the sea, huge crashing waves, which looks quite cool. That shot in manual, and it worked absolutely flawless. Probably could have done with slightly faster shutter speed, to be fair. This is cropped in already double. It actually is that seagull there I was not actually looking at, and it actually put two little focus points on it. Then you've got two people in the distance, and you can see Eastbourne quite a long way away in the distance there. Big crashing waves coming in really, quite heavily all the time, so you have plenty to play with. But as you can see there, the colours and the sharpness and everything is really good. And then the surfer again, getting battered by the big waves crashing in, but really nice colours. It's capturing the dynamic range is really good. The colouring pretty accurate. And then after that, I've got blown to bits. I took some shots with the RX10 Mark IV, which I'll do in another little video as well. I'll show you later. And then I decided to head inland, where it was a little bit less windy, and there's a church up on the top of a hill, and I thought, down in the river it's actually flooded because we had so much rain last night that actually I thought I'd get a picture from above looking down. There's a church on the right there, and yeah, so had a little wander around, took a few photos, and yeah, just did a few shots here, and then I called it a day with the camera and dropped it off. But really nice to use. I'm actually quite tempted to have one myself, just because you can have it in your pocket any time of the day, just with you all the time. Yes, it's not, the previous version was 24 to 70 f1.8 to 2.8, I think, without looking. Excuse me. Where you've got a little bit of compromise with the speed of the lens, you've actually got a bit more zoom on this one, and I think that's more usable for everyday use. And it's not a professional level, the quality it's chucking out is amazing, but it's not replacing a DSLR or a high-end mirrorless or the RX10 Mark IV. It's a pocket camera with all the bells and whistles, and that's what we've got to think about. In light like this, absolutely amazing. In low lights, it's probably okay, but it's just getting, once you get used to using a piece of equipment, you are customised to it, and you learn more, and you learn more from owning it and using it daily than you would do if someone's trying it out for a couple of hours or less. And you know, I'm going to actually do a couple of prints of these. A couple of these photos, I'm actually going to print them off and actually have a look, see what the quality is really like. But I'm really impressed with how the detail and everything's there, the sharpness of the lens and everything for such a small package with everything it can do is awesome. The only thing you need to make sure is you've got a fast card in there, and I actually just grabbed a card that I had, which wasn't the fastest. So when I did bursts and stuff like that, it took a little while time to sort of offload it to the card, which was a bit annoying. But as I was only experimenting, it didn't really matter. Cool house here, nice looking house. Sorry about the coughing. And then I had a little walk around the churchyard. There's loads of snowdrops, little flowers, and so I thought, you know, benefit of one of these cameras here. It's so small, and you've got the little fold-out back screen like you have on all the Sonys, but because it's so small, you can get down up underneath things. So I was getting up underneath the little snowdrops there. My own fault here. I didn't check the focusing, and I didn't actually check the pictures too closely, so I actually missed focus very slightly. It's not out of focus, I just focused in the wrong area. So we know the photos are going to turn out good if you get it bang on, but it's just the experimentation. So I've actually, on this one here is okay with no flash, it's focused there, but on the second shot where I did fire the flash, which you'll see in a second, when it comes, you can see there I actually focused in the middle by accident instead of one of the actual flower heads. It's gone sort of onto the second flower on the stalk as such, and that's just my fault. That's nothing to do with the camera, that's just me misfocusing, because I'm wearing sunglasses as well, obviously recording with the camera, that it's my own fault, so it's just a shame. And then I did a distance test, so the closest focus point, so I thought I'd use this old carving on the gate there, so it got within 2.5-3 inches away from the thing at 24mm, so nice and wide, and it works quite well. I thought maybe at 200mm it would sort of focus quite close, but actually you have to come back quite a way, not a ridiculous way, which you'll see in a second. So it's me just taking a couple of shots there, and but I think that'd be, I don't know, around about a metre maybe slightly less. I'll keep coming back, you'll see in a second. So keep coming back. I think possibly a metre, maybe slightly less than a metre. But still, you got the shots, which you'll see in a second, and both sharp in different extremes. So 24mm wide angle, and as you can see on the screen there, actually, I'm zoomed in quite heavily, so I have to come back slightly. But works really well. Like I say, you learn how to use your equipment. Once you learn how to use your equipment, you get a lot more out of it than someone who doesn't know their equipment. So you need to experiment, quite a bit. It drops the background off quite nicely. But that distance there isn't actually that far. So if you had more of a less stuff in the distance for quite a long way away, you'd probably get an even nicer background. That's zoomed in at 200mm, and it's sharp and it looks good. Oh, there's cough. And then another shot there as well, slightly zoomed out, just sort of mid-range. But all in all, a very impressive bit of equipment. Battery life, I shot over 200 photos over an hour or so, and this one here, for example, this is got a nice blur background in the distance, 200mm, f4.5, and it's sharp, and that works really quite nicely. So it's just you have to think a little bit, but then that's the whole point of photography. If it was easy, and you could just take a picture, like you might as well have a mobile phone. But if you want to learn a bit and be creative, it doesn't matter what camera you're using really, you just got to think a lot more, and having a good moderate zoom. So you've got the 24 to 70 and the 70 to 200 range that you would have on interchangeable lenses. in a tiny little package, which is, you know, really, really good. I mean, the sunlight bouncing off these windows here, the stained glass windows, worked really nice. It shows you how old they are because they're not flat at all wonky and everything. But the detail it's capturing is brilliant. And here as well, an old lamp that's got loads of iron work and everything, which works really nicely as a shot. The only thing I did find was when I was shooting in the sun, towards the sun, when I was down with the surfers, and there was a lot of reflection coming off the sea, was the EVF's quite small, so I was struggling to see that clearly. But it was, it was fine once I sort of adjusted a little bit. Stained glass window here being backlit by the sun through the building. There's just a headstone here, and I thought the detail there with all the carving and the sort of the fungi type algae stuff, whatever grows on the gravestones there, just added a bit of interest. And there's some black and white. So this is a statue lady there with all the gravestones in the background and the church wall. I just thought it was a interesting image. And then I took one of the church as well, which you'll see in a second. So quick conclusion, it's £1,150, so it's not a cheap camera at all, but it's made well. You can use it in the rain a bit and it doesn't really care. You've got a good flash on there which you can actually bounce, so you can fold it backwards a little bit and actually bounce off stuff. So it gives you a little bit of creativity there using light. The 24-70 is very fast in focusing, and it acquires the target, whatever you're looking at, very, very quickly. And sorry, the 24 frames per second as well, absolutely incredible. You just got to make sure you have a fast card in there. But like I say, it's kind of the ultimate compact camera for just general use, day to day. Someone who wants a bit more control, and also, the sort of best of the best. Yes, it hasn't got 720mm zoom lens like some of the Panasonics have, but the lens quality is much higher. Definitely notice that the sharpness and everything is incredible, and obviously the more detail and the colours and everything just seem a little bit better. But you've got all the other bells and whistles, the 500 to 1000 frames per second slow motion, the fastest autofocusing system you can get, and a lot more in there as well that I haven't really even sort of gone into today. But I hope that was interesting enough, and also it shows you this camera is obviously very, very well worth it. But is it worth that price tag? But for a lot of people it's not. But if you want a camera that's going to last you a good 5 years and still be ahead of the game, probably it's the one to go for. So anyway, guys, please subscribe, please click the notification bell, and please comment, please ask questions, because I can obviously give you some feedback and thoughts and things like that if you've got any questions. And obviously the RX10 Mark IV is my sort of daily camera, and the A7R3 for work and a bit of daily as well. And so anyway, guys, I'll see you soon. Thank you.